Now I'm making something for a friend of mine. I've decided to just turn the computer on and film this and talk about the windsurfer for a moment, because there's a lot of younger generation builders coming up, and some of them have never heard about the windsurfer. And originally people built this using cardboard and tin foil, aluminium foil to cover for the backing here, cardboard for this part. And this is something that works really well, and the reason it works well is because it's a parabola. And you know, when you go up the scale in powerful antennas, at the top there is always some kind of parabola, whether it's a satellite dish or whatever. You just can't beat a parabola. And the windsurfer came about probably 20 years ago now, if not slightly longer, for the old Linksys routers. I started talking American there. The old Linksys routers. And they were designed to fit on those fixed antennas that were on the first set of Linksys routers that came out, and similar ones at the time there, you know, around about the 2000s, 2002 era. And you either use two of these or possibly just one, and directed a decent signal into an area that was a bit flat in your house, say your conservatory. You wanted to work in there, you wanted a better Wi-Fi connection, pop one of these over the antenna and just turn it to point towards where you wanted a better signal, and it just worked. Now this is one that I built quite a few years ago now for myself, and as you can see, I've used some aluminium. This is 1mm thick aluminium, some plastic here for the body, so it's much more of a permanent fixture. It looks a little bit better than cardboard and aluminium foil as well. But the reason I'm building one here is for a friend of mine. He's just had some 2.4 gigahertz wireless security camera at the end of his yard. The ones in his house are physically wired up, so they're not a problem, but the one at the end of his yard doesn't get a good signal. It drops out all the time. It's really poor. It'll kind of reset it, connect to it, and then within a couple of minutes it's dropped its signal again. Even worse in bad weather. It's had the guys out who fitted it for him. Originally the guys said, you know, it wouldn't be a problem having the wireless one there, but obviously it is. It's not getting a good signal to the base station, so he asked me if there's anything I can do about it. Now, without going into the camera itself, which does have a fixed antenna, it doesn't have an SMA on there to swap it out. You know, I didn't really want to start opening the camera up, because although the people who fitted it for him are no longer returning his calls now, they're just ignoring him, the system itself is under a guarantee. So I thought about using a windsurfer, because, you know, you're not getting into equipment, you're not going to avoid the warranty. It's a completely passive upgrade. And what I'm going to do is make one for him, like this one here, attach it to the little aerial, the rubber duck aerial that's at the back of the security camera, point this towards where he needs the signal, and then I'm going to epoxy this to the antenna then, so the wind doesn't move it around. It's going to be fixed in position. And the beautiful thing about the windsurfer is that it's not frequency dependent. It works with any frequency you like, and even this is a rubber duck for 850 megahertz, I think 860 megahertz, around there. This is for the cellular networks. It's a little bit big here, as you can see, but with the template you can just make this back a little bit longer, you know, on this area here, so it covers this. And because this part here is the parabola, the parabolic curve here, it's not going to affect anything, so you can make it for any antenna that you want just by slightly modifying the template. And I'll put a link to the template in the description, and you get it to work with any frequency. It really is a nice passive idea to boost your signal. Now, as I said, making this out of cardboard is pretty straightforward with a pair of scissors, but here I'm using some plastic. This is 1.5mm plastic, the same stuff that I used on this here. It's designed for vacuum foaming, so it's really nice. It will bend, get a little bit of heat in here, and you can get a nice bend in that curve. That's why I like this stuff. You can buy it off eBay. You can just buy one sheet. If you buy multiple sheets, you can save some money, but it's not expensive. Same as the aluminium here. This is 1mm thick aluminium. Just stick the template to it and cut out the aluminium. I'm now going to cut the little slots in here so we can put this all together, and for that I'm just going to use my Dremel with a cutting wheel and just cut out the slots. Really easy to build if you've never come across the windsurfer before. Now that I've got the slots cut in there, I'm going to start attaching this piece to make the parabolic curve in the aluminium as well. You can see I've pre-drilled holes in this, and it's important to pre-drill the holes. Don't try and put the holes in there once you get these little flaps bent over, but basically the flap's going to go in like that. I'm going to use my heat gun to bend that plastic over, then drill a hole through, and then use a little rivet to secure it in place. I'm going to help it along by giving this a bit of a bend to start off with, but a bend is not the same as a parabolic curve because it doesn't have a focal point, but it's just enough just to help us on a little bit. But basically the parabolic curve is going to be guided by the template around here. So I'm going to start with the two center ones first and then work my way out to the edges, but just get a little bit of heat in this and get it bent over, and then we'll secure it in place with some rivets. There we go. So now I've got a piece of cork here. I'm just going to use that to fold it down like so. So we've got it bent over like that, and then I can secure it in there with a rivet. So that's the first one secured, and now what I'm going to do is bend it over and put the second one in place. You should be able to cold bend this plastic okay, but you know, if you have a little bit of a trouble, you can just apply some heat in the middle and get it a little bit more supple. So I'm about to bend this edge, and I just wanted to point out, you just need to use whatever you need to just to get the job done. When I first made this, I think I used some masking tape to hold this back so I could then put the bends in these and get them riveted. But I've got a rivet in here, as you can see. It's doing a good job of holding that curve there while I bend this first tab back. Once that tab's bent back and secured, then I can bend that one and secure that one in place. But the edges are a little bit fiddly, that's what I want to point out to you. Now this is the windsurfer essentially finished. Couple of bits of advice is the template, the diameter for the little rubber duck antenna you're going to put through this. Don't use the size that they give you. Make a much smaller hole like I've done here, and just make it bigger to the antenna you want to use this on. You know, as I say, it's much easier to make something a little bit bigger than it is to try and add material back in there. If you take a look at this one here, this one I built for the Linksys router, it's a little bit wider at the bottom than it is at the top, which is the shape of those Linksys rubber duck antennas, so that's why I did that with that. Another thing that I noticed with this original one that I built many years ago, I extended the tabs out a little bit longer. Now if I remember correctly, I just got a ruler and a Sharpie, made them a little bit longer. These ones I didn't, but you can see I still managed to bend them over and get a rivet in there, and it's holding it secure enough. But yeah, if you wanted a bit of an easier job, make those tabs a little bit better. Make sure you bend them down on the inside as well, so that this then hides your rivets coming through. It just makes it a little bit of a neater job. And of course you can paint this, or you know, give the aluminium a good polish or what have you, just to to make it look a little bit better. And I think I'll put some lacquer on this as well so the aluminium doesn't corrode, because this one is going on the outside. And if you can't quite fit something like this on your security camera, maybe a dipole doesn't come out quite far enough or whatever, you can always cut a curve, a section out of the parabola here, and it's not going to make much difference to the overall effectiveness of it. Just modify it to fit your security camera. So if you did enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up. Comments or questions, drop them below. As I say, I'll put a link to one of the more well-known templates for this windsurfer. I mean, they've come back with the quadcopters and things like that. They seem to be making a comeback for that. But you know, for something like a security camera, adding one of these really does increase its range, if not double its range. But yeah, if you did enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up, and hopefully you'll join me on the next one.